Hi there guys, Tony here from Caveman Props. Well, I'm out in the workshop today for another tutorial for you, and I wanted to make it a little bit different again. I seem to be doing a lot of sci-fi stuff just recently, so today I've decided to go a little bit different and I'm going back into some fantasy weapons. I've done some fantasy weapons a long time ago, and I know people loved them. I had a lot of comments on them, so I was thinking I'm going to do it again, and I was thinking, what should I do in the way of fantasy weapons? Well, one of the things I've always been quite interested in is the stories of Camelot and Arthur, and I thought, what about doing Excalibur? There have been many versions of Excalibur about, some really brilliant ones, but one I really quite enjoyed is from the BBC version TV series of Merlin. It was a fantastic sword because it literally had writing down the side of it in runes, and wasn't like, it was a fantastic sword, but it was fitting with the era as well. So I've templated it up. We're going to have a look at that. I'm going to show you how we can get on and build that sword quite simply and cheaply. So we're going to have a look at the techniques we're going to be using, and hopefully enjoy this one and follow it along. Okay, so this is the template I've drawn out. It's a bit big to try and fit all the way under here, but we've got the handle up here and the blade section. The beauty of this sword is it has these, they're called the runes, down the side, and it's supposed to have two expressions. On one side it says pick me up or something similar to that, and on the other side it's supposed to say cast me away, into something in the lines that the sword should only be used when it should be and not when it couldn't be. Searching lots of images, I only ever found one set of runes which are drawn up here, and obviously because they're supposed to be different on both sides, I kept searching. I did find an image and tried to look at it as best I could, and they were different, so I've drawn up a different set of runes here. There are a few similarities that come across, so I don't know if this one is correct to the screen used one, or if somebody else has made this one up. If you have made it up and are seeing this, please let me know, because I'm happy to give you full credit on that. But this is what I'm going to work to, so the runes are going to be different on both sides. So we're going to get these bits. I'm going to start with the blade first, and I'm going to take you through each part. So to start with, on the blade I'm using a 10mm EVA foam. This is the C65 from Props, so I'm going to be using 2 layers of this to create the blade, and I've cut these bits out in accordance to that. What I've also done is I've used the rotary tool, and I've scored out a channel down the middle of each of these up to this point, running all the way up to the end. And what's going to happen with that is I've got a lovely thin aluminium tube, and that is going to sit in the middle of that, and then this one will go over the top, and that's going to make it a little bit more rigid and stop it from bending. Now this doesn't fit completely all the way in, but what this is going to do is when I stick the sides down, it's going to give me that curvature to the blade that I need, and then all I've got to do is sand off these edges up to the point. So obviously it's quite big to try and fit under the camera here. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this together as the blade, and we're going to sand it down to try and make the sword shape. Okay, so I've got those 2 bits together. I've trimmed them down because obviously they didn't quite line up, and then I've used my sander just to smooth off the edges. And if you don't have one of these, they are quite handy to get hold of. It's like a tiny little belt sander, and this became perfect just for doing this bit and working it all in. You can see it's looking quite good. What I've also done is I've marked in the section in the middle here for where the runes are going to go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you with that. How we're going to do that, rather than laying in an extra piece of foam, what we're going to do is I'm going to use my straight ruler edge here, get that in to there, and so I've got a nice straight edge. And what I'm going to use is I'm going to use my fine tipped soldering iron. Get all the way to the end. Actually, I'm going to start at the one end, and we'll work our way into the middle. By using a straight edge, that should be nice and straight, and as you can see there, that burns that line in quite nicely. I'm just going to go in a little bit extra to get that in. So I'm going to use this technique to get the edging done and to get the the detail on the end here and the bottom in, and then we're going to do something very similar, but we're going to be a little bit different with the runes. So I'm going to get these bits marked in, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do with the runes. So there we go. So I've done this all in. I've done the detail at the top here, the detail at the bottom here, and now what's left is the runes. So I've kind of marked out where they go and used just a biro pen just to thinly mark it in. I'm not too worried about the ink, because we're gonna go over the top of that. And basically what I'm going to do is the same again, but this time I'm going to use a slightly thicker soldering iron. So we're going to burn the runes in using this. Now I have to be careful, although this is 2 layers of 10mm foam, I have dug a channel out the middle for the pole, so technically I only have about 5mm to play with going in the deep, because the pole runs straight through the middle here. And obviously to do this, when you're using this on foam, it can be quite toxic, so I'm going to be wearing a mask in order to be able to do this. I showed you the first bit and talked through it without wearing the mask, but this is going to burn it quite a bit more, so it does produce quite a bit of fumes. So if I go off volume, that'll be why. So we're just going to show you putting these runes in now. So there we are. I've done the runes on front and back. I don't think you really need to watch me do all of them, but hopefully you get the idea of how it was done. The trick is, take your time, don't rush it, so they all go in quite nicely, you don't burn down too far. Obviously I couldn't show you doing much more of it because obviously I couldn't talk through the mask on. So there we are. So obviously I've got my second set of runes on one side, the other set on that side. So this is now ready as the blade goes at the moment, so I'm going to coat this in some latex, and then we're going to paint it, but I'm going to make a start on the handle and the rest while that bit's taking place. So right, we're moving on with the handle, and what I've done is from the 10mm foam I've cut 2 pieces out using my template here as a reference. What I've also done is when I've cut it at a bevel. From the back, this is going to save me a bit of time, some sanding and shaping. What I've also done is I've cut a channel out for the middle. This is going to be for the pole. Now this channel isn't going to be enough, because obviously remember the last time we had to bend it around. I don't want to bend this around because I want it to be quite movable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some bits of 5mm foam to stick them down the inside edge here, so there's going to be a slight 5mm gap. So this is going to end up being about 15mm wide, and then we'll sand it all round into the handle shape, and we'll take it from there. So I'm going to get those bits on, get it together, and hopefully get it shaped up. I've also marked it top and bottom, because the bottom is going to be slightly thicker than the top. It just tapers off a little bit, so that takes onto there. So we're going to get on with this, and then we're going to sort out the pommel as well. So I put the handle piece onto a piece of the pole just to give it some grip. It's not glued on, it's still movable. Quite a nice tight fit, which is what I wanted. And then I've taken the sander and sanded it all down. If you can see quite clearly, there is the 5mm piece pushed in there. So that's kind of now got the handle shape that we want. I don't have to worry about it being too smooth, because what I'm going to do is I've got some fake leather, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some strips of the fake leather, and we're going to wrap this like a sword handle, which is what it's going to be, to make it look like it's a leather wrapped handle. So we're going to get on with that, and I'll show you that bit. Okay, so we're going to cover the handle in some fake leather. Now what I was looking at was whether I could cover it in one piece of fake leather. I'm not particularly very good with that, so I'm going to stick to what I know. And I've got the fake leather, and I've cut it in a strip about 1 centimetre, 10 mils, wide. It's a little bit off because I just cut it by hand with a pair of scissors. That's going to be good. So what we're going to do is take the handle and we're going to start at the bottom, so the thicker end, and we're going to attach this just by using some simple super glue, and we're going to start at the sides. So just put a little bit on there, line that up. It sticks pretty much straight away. So I'm going to put another bit just here, and we're going to wrap that round, keeping it nice and even. Put a little bit there, and then what we're going to do is we're going to start on the side. So we're going to bring it pretty much even as a complete wrap round, and then we're going to start bringing it out. So I'm going to be doing it a bit like that, and we're going to do bit by bit the wrapping. So we're just going to cover the bottom bit as we go around each time. Touch of super glue. As we keep holding it in place. We've got to the thicker bit of the handle. I've been putting a taper in the middle as well, so just a little bit of stick down with super glue, but making sure my side bits are the main ones. As we come around to the bottom, or what will be technically the top of the handle, we'll wrap it round, hopefully finish it off. I've hopefully got enough here. Should have cut it to the right length. This is going to be good. So on the sides I'm putting a bit on the foam and a bit on the leather just to hold it in place. Here I'm just putting a little bit on the foam. So as we come round here, see what we need to do, then do a wrap, and don't want to put the glue on the end bits here to the very end, put it all the way around the side bit there. So I've left a little bit over because this is where the pommel's going to go on, so we're going to want a little bit to go around that once that bit's done. There we go, so that's the handle now wrapped in the leather, and it's looking quite good. Now on the original there is some banding on here with some like gold ribbon and little studs that go down the middle. Now I've tried having a look around, I can't find the right kind. Obviously with the moment with the shops being closed and me not being able to work, I haven't been able to really get out and get much in the way of that, so I might look at that later, but for the moment I'm quite enjoying this as the wrapped handle. So we're going to crack on with the pommel and the guard. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the guard, and when I drew the guard on here I literally just drew it simple like this because we're not going to use it from this part of the template. It's just put in to try and give you the spacing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work it from the other way, and I've drawn this template, so this will be from the top, so it's going to fit into the sword that way. So I've marked out the middle, I've marked out where the arm bits are going to go, and then what I've done is I have contact cemented two pieces of 10mm foam together, so I've got this 20 piece and then drawn this out. And what I'm going to do is we're going to put this through the scroll saw to cut this piece out, and then we're going to start shaping these bits because it's going to be thinner on the bottom than it is on the top. So we're going to decide which is going to be the top and the bottom, and then we're going to, I've also, as you can see, I've made some details here. This is going to be edged in woods as well, but I'll obviously show you that as we get to it. So I'm going to get this piece cut out and then we can start shaping it. So we've got that bit cut out, and I've used a piece of the tubing to create the hole in the middle, so that will then go on with the blade quite nicely. And then what I've done is I've marked in from the side here, like I had on the template. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut this off an angle. I'm going to sand it just to make it a little bit better to the middle of this. So it's going to end up with a triangle point in running that way. So we're going to get that done. And then what I've done on the bottom here is I've marked straight down the middle. And then I've marked some bits here. So what we're going to do is we're going to trim some of this off, and I'm going to use the sander, try and get it down. So it's going to come down to more of a point here, a little bit wider at these points, and thicker on the top. So it's going to be narrowed down that way. So we're going to come down a little bit more there, and then what we'll do is we'll get the shape in it to fit onto the sword. We can just heat it and try and get some shape into it, but we're going to do something else as well just to add that little bit extra. So we're going to get on, I'm going to try and cut some of these bits off, a little bit of the excess off, so I'm not going to go to the lines, and then we're going to get the flat sander and the rotary tool, and we're going to start adding some shape to this. So there we are, so we've sanded that. You just have to be really careful when doing this. I was kind of lucky I didn't have to get the rotary sander out, the small belt sander was enough to be able to do this. So we've got the shape in this, and then we've got these down to a point and taken off a little bit there, so it kind of comes down a bit more like a triangle. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add the last few details, and that's the wrapping on the ends. And for that I've got a piece of the 2mm foam, and I've cut this somewhere between about 2 and 3mm strip all the way off the end. And what we're going to do is we're just going to use some Connell Garden super glue, and we're going to stick this round and wrap it round, and then we're going to leave a gap, so it's going to kind of spiral round a bit like that. So we're going to get that on, and that's going to go from the end here to about the middle, and then we'll start then about here, coming to the middle. So there's going to be 2 sections of it on both sides. So we're going to get that bit on, and then we'll get to the shaping. So I'll put glue actually onto the strip itself, and then we just have to wrap that around quite firmly, so we leave the bit of a gap there. Get that around, and I just have to keep an eye on how far I've glued. So we're going to carry on with that, get this lot done, and we'll take it from there. So there we are, so I've got the wrappings and details around there like that, so that's looking really good there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put the shape into it, and we can probably just heat that because I made these bits quite so thin, but they are going to start to come back up again. So what I'm going to do is we're going to work from the bottom here, and we're going to use the scalpel, and I'm going to cut a small wedge at the bottom here. So I'm going to cut straight down here, and then I'm going to cut a small wedge out down the bottom there, and then we're going to glue that back together. So that's then going to create that automatic straight down shape there. So that's what we're going to do with that, and we're going to do that both sides, and then we'll apply a little bit of heat and get the rest of it in. So we will then get it to a point it will probably be about right. So I'm going to do that. So I only want to go in just a tiny little bit. to meet. We take that little wedge out there, and then what we're going to do is we're going to glue that in. So that's then going to already create that downward spiral shape there. So we're going to do that on both sides, get that glued back in like that, and then that should give us the guard, and then we'll just need to coat and paint that. So we'll get that together now. Right then, so for the pommel I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to use some of this, the foam dowel. So I've got this one, this is my 50mm or 5cm thick foam dowel, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a disc of this off just over 20mm wide. That's going to act as my pommel piece on the end, and then basically I've got some 5mm foam and some bits of tubing, and I'm going to use them because there's going to be a central bit in the middle. So I'm going to cut a big central bit, and then a load of tiny little discs which are going to go around the outside of that to create this shape. So I'm going to cut all of that and put it together. That should be relatively straightforward. Right, so I kind of jumped ahead with the pommel a bit here. I just cut all the pieces out and stuck them on. It went together quite nicely. So that's basically it is. I've stuck one on the top. That's going to be acting like the central pin that puts it on. What I've also done is taken another piece of the aluminium tubing and pushed that on, so I've got the hole on the bottom bit created. That kind of then gave me the place to start from as what's going to be top and bottom. So we got that. So this was quite straightforward to put together. Went together quite nicely and quickly. So this can now be coated and painted and can be put together with the rest of the sword. Okay, so we've got the blade done. This is being coated, primed and then sprayed with a metallic silver. So it's come out really quite well. I'm quite pleased with that. But what we're going to do is this bit in the middle here needs to be gold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some paper and some masking tape, and we're just going to mask off the end section as best we can. So I'm going to do that all the way down here on both sides. And then we're going to spray this middle section silver. So we're just going to get this covered and then sprayed up. So there we are, we've got that bit sprayed on now. I've left it a good day to properly dry. I've taken the masking tape off, and I think you'll find that's come out really well. I'm quite pleased with that. There is a little bit of leakage just underneath the masking tape just here. That's not a problem. I can get a bit of the paint and a small paintbrush, and we can just go over that with the silver just to cover up the gold. But I think that is come out really well. I'm so pleased with that. We also have the guard here, obviously the handle that you see me make before, and obviously the very end piece. So we can actually now start assembling this, and obviously these are all going to be glued in place, but for the moment I'm just going to rest them into place. So the guard will go on there like that. The handles a little bit stiffer. On, but that will go on like that, and then the hilt piece will go on. Oh, that looks absolutely amazing. I am well pleased with how that actually looks all together. So I'm going to get these pieces glued into place, and then that's the prop finished. So there we are, guys, that's this prop over and done with for this build. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. Please please subscribe, let me know what you think in the comments. Obviously I'm really quite happy with how this has come out. It's a wonderful prop, and I'm really quite ecstatic about it. I've just got the details to finish off on the handle, which hopefully I'll get round to at some point, but that shouldn't be too much. But I'm quite loving this the way it is now at the moment. Please give us a comment on what you thought of this. Let me know what swords are your favourite. Do you have a different version of Excalibur which you prefer, maybe from the film Excalibur, or my kids have just recently watched the Kid Who Would Be King, so there was another version of Excalibur in that. But this is my favourite. Just let me know what you like in the comments. If you're interested as well, I have also taken the template that I made up for this, and I've put it on our Etsy store. I'll put a link in the descriptions, so if you want, you can download your own version. It comes in A4 pieces, you just need to stick it together, but it gives you all the details of the runes and the template bits that I made for these. Obviously I didn't make a template for this, it was quite self-explanatory, but I've got the template for this and all the details on the blade. So there we are. So please like, please subscribe, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial very soon.